Hello YouTube, my name is Josh. I'm a member of the Watchmen, and today we will be continuing our Netflix Defenders Retrospective, or whatever you want to call this series we're doing, with episode 2, and we're going to be covering Jessica Jones Netflix series, which is actually my favorite series. It's kind of just barely over Daredevil, but I really like this series, and it's a series I hold, close to my heart. As being a big influence on how I feel about certain things. Overall, this series, it covers Jessica Jones, who's a private detective or PI, whatever you want to call it, who's also an alcoholic. She's recovering from things that have happened in her past that are pretty traumatic, and as she moves on with her life and she's taking these cases, one in particular brings up some bad memories of something that happened in her past. And as she digs a little more into the case, she realizes that a ghost from her past has come back to haunt her. This ghost is David Tennant's character, Kilgrave, or the Purple Man, whatever you want to call him. I prefer Kilgrave, even though it's cheesy. It's less cheesy than the Purple Man. But after she realizes that Kilgrave is in, the city and coming after her, she starts planning on how to defeat him, or just how to survive, or just how to eliminate the threat in general. As the series goes on, you see her breaking down, her sanity. She's losing it, and it's one thing I really love about the series is the villain, he works so well at making Jessica go insane. And that's something Daredevil didn't catch, or it didn't capture, but Jessica Jones really did to me. And there's just a lot of feelings of helplessness, in Jessica's case, and I really appreciated that. Not that Fisk was, he wasn't scary, but I just felt that Jessica felt helpless more than Daredevil did. But of course, as the series, the series finishes, of course, it finishes like most superhero stories. The hero wins through troubles and a lot of death. But this was definitely in my opinion, the darkest Netflix series. Not just dark on like most things happen at night. I mean, like they had some dark topics and dark events happen that just, if I was to watch with, like, say, my parents or a sibling or someone younger than me, I wouldn't feel comfortable watching it with them. It would just be a little too mature for some audiences. I know that's not really important, but I just noticed that. All right, let's go into the pros of this series. The first thing I want to say is, the villain. I really loved the villain, David Tennant's character. He just did an absolutely great job at conveying fear and helplessness. While he didn't look imposing at all, really, ever. When he was on screen, and even when he wasn't, you could feel his presence, and it was a heavy presence. And it kind of did the same thing that Fisk had. His presence was very heavy. But in Daredevil, I felt like Fisk could also be seen as a hero, as where Kilgrave really couldn't. But I still felt he was a great villain overall. Let's see, what else is there. Another strength I noticed was that just the character of Jessica Jones was very well done. While she wasn't the most likable character in the Defenders, she was definitely relatable. And I'm not saying like I'm an alcoholic or anything like that, but she's had problems in her past, and traumatic at that, and a lot of people can relate to having problems in their past and those problems coming back to haunt you. Another thing that this series did well was it obviously Jessica is a woman, and there's been a lack and a need for some good female superheroes, and I feel that Black Widow just right now isn't cutting it. Not that she's bad, but we don't get much of a focus on her or any other female superheroes at the moment. I mean, now we have Wonder Woman, but when this was out, there weren't really any focuses on women. And while she's not a great role model, she is just a great hero, and she feels real. She feels grounded. She doesn't feel like some Superman where there's really no problems that we face that they face. She felt like just an everyday person that happened to have superpowers and a tragic story. Now, there are some good things that I'm not saying. I'm not really wanting to go into spoiler territory, but I'm gonna move on to the cons because while I don't have many cons or problems with the show, I feel those are worth pointing out because if we want to move on and we want to improve on everything, we need to know what was wrong. There are more good things. I'm just not saying them because spoilers and time time restraints. But the first problem I would say is the lack of action. A lot of people really complained about that. There weren't many good fight scenes. Like Daredevil, we had the hallway scene. In Daredevil season 2, we had the stairway scene. And in each Netflix series, we've had a really memorable fight scene. Jessica Jones really didn't have one, to my knowledge. It had some really good scenes, but it didn't have a good action sequence with great martial arts or special effects. And that was what caused a lot of people to say it was bland, it was a boring story, it wasn't interesting. And while I didn't agree with that, I could see their point. Made sense for them to say that. The next complaint or problem with the series is the characters. Not that they were bad, but we had Nuke, or Simpson, or whatever you wanted to call him. To me, he was very poorly developed, and it was kind of rushed. But it wasn't that big of a problem. It was just something I noticed and I didn't really like or care for all that much. It's kind of unnecessary filler to me. But it was nice to get that Easter egg in of having Nuke in the MCU. So it was neat, but I felt it was unnecessary and it was kind of annoying. This other part's not really a problem, but I didn't care all that much for Luke Cage in the series. It was nice to have him, and it was a nice little relationship they had. But honestly, it was just felt like they just had to put him in there. I know he's an essential part of the story, but I feel they could have done much better with him in the series. Same goes for Claire. Claire, she appears in every Netflix series. In this one, she felt kind of weak. Like, she didn't show up much, and when she did show up, it was kind of because she was forced to, not because she's trying to help, but I'm not sure, but I just didn't feel her presence was done that well in this series as opposed to others. That's about it for all the complaints I have. I know it sounds, I think, more than the good things about the series, but there are more good things than bad things about the series. It's overall very enjoyable, and if you just have like a day to binge, I know it's not healthy to do that, but if you ever want to binge a show, you should definitely binge Jessica Jones because there's a lot of things you won't pick up if you watch one episode a week, unless you constantly rewatch it every day. But it's just an enjoyable show, very fun. It also had some good messages to it. But now to move on as to what I want to see in the Defenders from Jessica Jones. Elements or things having to do with Jessica. To be honest, I would like some nice references about Kilgrave. Just some Easter eggs or whatever just thrown in there. What I want to see from this show is I want to see the strengthening of Luke and Jessica. I want to see that relationship come back because it was good in this series, but I felt it could have been much stronger, and I'm hoping that they strengthen it in the Defenders. The other thing I want them to work on is their fight scenes. This goes for season 2 as well because they're filming that at the moment, I think. But in the Defenders, I know it's going to have some great fight scenes, but I really want Jessica to have some good, memorable, fight sequences. Because honestly, she didn't have any in that many in this series. But I feel she could definitely use one or two in the Defenders. The other thing I'm looking forward to in the Defenders with Jessica is I want to see how she's going to, work with all these weird guys that she's met only one of them. She's just being told to work with them because she has one of those attitudes that just doesn't play well with others. And I think that's being shown in trailers, but I'm excited to see how that plays out because that's always something I like about Jessica. She doesn't play well with others. A big point of the series is that she doesn't care for anybody but herself, and it's because of her past. But it's kind of a big moment when she shows that she does care for certain people. But overall, I'm very excited for Jessica Jones Season 2. I think that's going to be out next November. I'm also very excited for The Defenders, which comes out later this week. I'm probably not going to binge it, but I'm going to try. And you can look forward to our next video, which should be Daredevil Season 2, if we're doing the order right. And that should be out later this week, hopefully. And don't forget to like, subscribe, all that normal YouTuber stuff.
Amen to that. Now this little poopy pants is hungry. Will somebody pass me a pork chop?
Man, that was cringy. Wow.